Next, we want to set up the other buttons, obviously, but unlike the first couple of functions, we don't have a stop, forward, or reverse function to call. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work on tracking the actual playback of the video. So I'm going to shift down to these two statements down here at the bottom, and let's see what kind of JavaScript we can do to find out the duration and the current time of our video. And for that, we'll go back to our document again. And here, the first thing that I want to do is take a look at filling up this little span area where we're going to indicate the total duration and the current time of our video. We actually have properties that give us these values pretty easily. They're called duration and current time. So that part's not hard at all. Let's set it up so that I can take the duration and drop it in the place of this X in the statement. I'll just go down and add another line to my JavaScript. And first, we'll find the element where we're going to place the text, and we'll do that by using a document getElementById function call. And this time, we'll be looking for the total time ID. So I'll just paste that on in, and I'll close up my quotes and my parentheses for the function call, and then we'll simply use our dot syntax, dot, and since we want to change the text inside that element, we'll use the inner HTML property. And we'll use an equal sign so we can assign that a new value. Now what we'd like to set this to is the entire duration of our video. So I'm going to start off by finding our video element in the document. And again, this is a document getElementById function call. And we're looking for the video, and we called it right up here, video. So I'll just pop that on into the statement. And here, we're looking specifically for the duration property. So I'm going to use dot syntax again, dot, and we'll add in duration. Now, let me close that line with a semicolon. And we'll save our changes and see what happens. I'll just go back out to my browser. We'll refresh the page. And let's take a look at our statement. Now, down here it says total duration NaN seconds, and that looks a little bit weird. NaN stands for not a number. But that still doesn't really tell us what's going on. Actually, what's happening here is we're finding that the video's not loading fast enough for our JavaScript to find the duration of the video. Now, you'll find this with other elements in the browser, but with video and other media, sometimes things take a little bit longer. What's happening is the page is loading up, we've declared a video object, and the browser has started to set up the video. But by the time it gets down to the JavaScript that tries to pull the duration of our video, the video isn't quite loaded yet. So it tells us not a number, meaning it can't find the duration. So we're going to have to change our code a little bit. Now, the way we usually handle these items is we look for an event that tells us everything is ready. And with videos, we have just such an event. It's called onLoadedMetadata. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to our video up top, and we're going to set up an event handler just like we did for the buttons. Only in this case, we're not going to have a click event handler, which usually indicates user interactivity. We're going to have an event the video generates itself. So let's go up to our video tag, and anywhere along it, I'll put it at the end, we can add in another attribute that will call off our event. onLoadedMetadata. And just like we did with our other event calls, I'm going to have this one call a function. Now we haven't made our function yet, so we'll just make up a name. I'll set our onLoadedMetadata event equal to, and then we'll call the setDuration function. I'll add some parentheses for that function. We'll close off the quotes and end the tag. And now let's go back down to our statement that didn't work before, and let's just put it inside of a function. I'll copy the function statement from the previous one so we don't have to type quite as much. And we're going to change the name of this function to setDuration. And of course, I need a close brace to end my function. Now, as I said, unlike the other events that we've been working with, this event is actually going to be caused by the video itself and not by some user interacting with a button like we have with the onClick. So let's save our changes. We'll go out to our document and we'll refresh the page. And now you can see that we're seeing a duration of a number of seconds instead of the NaN number. Now, it popped up there pretty fast. So it really doesn't take that long for our video to load, but our JavaScript also executes very fast. And in this case, we needed to have the JavaScript wait for the event so that we could have the data we wanted to show. Now let's see what we can do to track the time while the video plays back. For that, we're going to use a similar system, but we're going to use a different event. Now, the onLoaded metadata event only occurs once, right when the video loads up at the very beginning. But actually, in order to update the time, we need something that actually occurs all the time during the playback of the video. And we have a special event just for that called onTimeUpdate. So let's go back to our document. And the first thing I'll do is we'll go back up to our video tag, since this is once again going to be the controller for the event, and we'll just add in another event here at the end. I'll set up onTimeUpdate. We'll again use an equal sign, and we'll call a function. Now, once again, we haven't made the function, so let's just make up a name. I will call our function updateTime. I'll write it with a capital T. We'll add parentheses for our function call, and then finish off the statement. Then we need to go and make our updateTime function. So let's go down to the bottom of our script tag, and this function is going to be very similar to our setDuration one. So once again, I'm just going to copy the whole function and paste it back in. And the first thing we'll do is change the name. This is going to be updateTime. And in this case, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to go find an element, but not the total time element. I'm going to find the time text element. So let's replace that. Again, we're going to be changing the inner HTML, and we're going to be doing that by going out and finding the video, and not using the duration this time, but using a different property called current time. And notice there's a capital T in that variable. Once again, we're ready to try it out, so let me just save my changes to our text document. We'll go back to our browser, and we'll hit refresh. Now, we shouldn't see any change to the current time in seconds right off the bat because the video's not playing. But as soon as I play the video, you will notice that the number of seconds immediately starts bouncing around and changing. And it's actually tracking the playback of the video as it goes from beginning to end. And you may have noticed what's different about the onTimeUpdate event. The other events that we've used so far have all been one-time only events. For instance, a click just happens once. What we're seeing here is the onTimeUpdate event is actually being called over and over again as the video plays back. Now, let me just refresh the page and try this again. I'm going to hit play this time, and we can see the seconds start popping up. If I hit pause, you can see that the playback pauses as well. So the event knows whether the video is playing or it's paused. If I hit play, it'll continue to resume and update the time just like it did before. Now, I've got a couple cleanups I want to do to this script. For one, we don't want to see all these numbers at the end. We know that the programming environment can keep really good track of the time, but our users just generally want to know seconds and not fractions of seconds. So we're just going to change the display a little bit to get rid of all these extra numbers. And when we go back to the document, I want to do one other cleanup as well. You notice our script is getting a little bit hard to read down here because we've got a lot of function calls in a row. We're using getElementID to get total time, and then we're using getElementById again to get video. And as you'll notice, we keep getting the video element using additional getElementById statements, one for each function. So I just wanted to clean this up by using a variable. And this is what most JavaScript programmers will do. So if you start looking at scripts you acquire from other places, you'll see this a lot. I'm going to go right to the top of the script tag here and add a line or two. And what we're going to do is declare a variable. I'm going to call mine vid, short for video. And I'll simply set this equal to our document getElementById call. In fact, I'll copy it right out of this first function. Now notice I left off the play function here. You'll see why in a moment. First thing I'm going to do is create a variable and set it equal to the getElementId function call. And what that will do is it will load the video element, the entire thing, into this variable. Let me put a semicolon at the end of that statement line. And then let's go down to our function. What we can do is any place where we were going to use document getElementById video, we can simply use vid. So my play video function down here becomes a simple vid.play function call. And we can do the same thing for our pause video. In fact, any place where we're using this, I can just use my new variable. For instance, down here in duration, I can call vid duration. And in current time, I can go ahead and call vid.currentTime. Now, doing this does not change the way the function works at all. It works exactly as it did before, but you can see here, now it's a little bit easier to read. We could make a variable for total time and time text if we wanted to. I'm not doing it here because we're only calling each one of them once. And you can see here it's much more valuable when you're calling something over and over again. Now let's see what we can do to change the number of seconds. In each case here, I'm pulling off a value, duration and current time, and simply just dumping it into that text field for inner HTML. The program grabs whatever the number is, but we can manipulate that number. So what I'll do is I'll call a rounding function. We're all familiar with rounding off numbers. And to do that in JavaScript, I'm going to go right to the beginning of vid duration there, and I'm simply going to call the math.round function. Now, this is a function, so it needs parentheses. And inside the parentheses, I will put vid duration. And that will simply round off whatever that value is, and we'll take that rounded off value, and then we'll drop it into the inner HTML of our total time element. We can do that both on the duration and on the current time, and it'll clean up our display quite a bit. I'll just add the math round call function here as well. We'll put our vid current time in the parentheses this time. And now we're ready to save our document. Let's go on out and refresh the page. I'm still seeing 7 seconds now instead of all those numbers after it. And when I hit play, we can see that the current time starts counting up, and again, it's gotten rid of all those other elements. And further, you can see that our whole control system still worked, even though we were now using the vid variable instead of using the getElementID function call over and over again.